What I have was why kill Shizuko. If this beautiful Hanagori was up can be in any order. I did not speak it yet. You guys would want to hear it? I also heard. Is Shizuko parent-child what I that there was to Mugotorashi eyes? You guys probably. This two people, hidden in the coffin of Saito, would have Kanzui that ran away to that house. It's right, I is in the kindness mutual agreement. It was allowed to do so. By the way, the destination of the coffin I think where it is. A crematory, which may an Iwazu. Ha 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 ha. It's a crematory. Coffin hidden of Shizuko. I was put into the furnace of the crematorium. I is had on the side. I was looking at it in silence. In the coffin, one set up a voice. Shizuko is horrible murder culprit. Unexpected must be delivered to the immediately police. To say that, if in silence, he is killed baked alive. It is, for the frail woman. I wonder what kind of suffering a habit or imagination can be. Shizuko is. He began yelling at last, then the gallows was imminent now. He who is afraid of the flame of the bottom of the coffin. Shizuko wailed in any Mugotorashi voice. I'm sure if I think that was heard in the ears of the brother who is in the other world. I was purified. Oh, the guy that Taniyama would have been what a terrible avenger. It mad, hate, but a demon. Evildoers a vampire. Just how there is resentment. Not a human being get used to such a demon she mind. Sunikawa police inspector also. Even Kogoro Akechi. This, like come echoing from the bottom of hell. In the words of the curse, did not have not felt the strange chills. Taniyama continues to cry without endlessly. In Shizuko in the coffin, on which was the heart's content of suffering. In one step in front of the burned to death, I was doing rescue that woman. Do not I think from kindness, then just killed baked in. So much because too good. The Shizuko was rescued. It came clinging or else happily looking at my face. I'm on is that people lover. Became a lifesaver. Ha 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 ha. This me it is. Then, it brought the two men to the factory. Shizuko both Shigeru, nothing known, came about from me after cheerfully. I'm Sureko me two people to this room. Where? Suffering also 45 days. The Raya is an inch useless to 5 minutes. Was doing me told bit by bit to my true heart. At that time, those guys of surprise, fear, I was for the first time, such as was struck enemy feelings. Then, the two people screaming, confined into that zinc box. It invested the water. Shizuko, when helped by at least Shigeru of life, but I asked to fit the hand. I had a blind herd. Then, its strange ice-making work has begun. Idle, squatting on the edge of the pond. From the water of zinc box, come faint leakage. The hateful woman was Suian Ruta, the voice of the agony of death agony. Zinc box was trembling and ripped. Screaming was muffled in the shadow of the water came here as chirping insects. Oh, it is, for the me, what that would have been subtle music. And, today finally went up can this beautiful Hanagori. In order to get and watch to you guys. I enjoy alone. It because it is too good art. Quote. Taniyama finished good. Today Awase and grinning. The devil of laughter full face. Rishiku or else good. Look towards the listener. Ring ha 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 ha. Very suddenly. Taniyama, of course. Even in Sunikawa said, like I was surprised. The cheerful laughter was Hatabashi from the mouth of the Akechi. I see. Well, you're in it. I intend we had was said to be up. I'm there in the estimates that beat me in the sticks. However, unexpectedly, I hear and you see it is unlikely even so. Between you climb can this icicle. I guess had a lookout constantly in here. Quote. Akechi is for the criminal. What Yara Yuri issued a question, not know the true character. From the face of the Taniyama, laughter a facial expression has disappeared. Kimi, and Ziru the zinc box in this tank. Shortly outside of this room went out. Factory, because the sound of strange curfew was heard. I think cure Wakashi smoothly and that offense I went to accept the outside. I wonder if you remember that at that time. Quote, Taniyama pointed the Zuboshi was something scary. I did not know how maybe the answer. During your absence, in this room, or not happened is what? You guess I do not know any. Akechi says that more and more strange. Taniyama, and restlessly, it had me Mawashi for ish anxiety. And Satori that there is no nothing anxiety once reasons. Return good for Nika Nikushi-up. In it you that the matter together. Just because I was Chido just answering this room. Never Shizuko we are. Tamai is not mean that ran away. In my purpose nothing of the offense thing. Really I guess so. You are. Though I come here. I whether they thought that did not bring anything of souvenir. Akechi is laughing smiling. It looks like rabbit also the corner. Electric light is a little too dark in this room. All of the mistakes of the original is. But I think is not there in this dark electric lamp. And patiently look at the face of the Taniyama. Taniyama had a blank look on the meaning of the opponent enlightenment and Tei. Eventually, in the state that I noticed or anything, suddenly, floated the color of the great dismay. A difference. But if such a thing is not, such a foolish thing is what? He cried as unexpected why look towards the Hanagori. Ha 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 ha. It seems the meaning of my souvenir was found. Hora, are you is not unexpected can see the icicle. The Shizukos who are confined. Look good if you're afraid. In fact, Taniyama was afraid of it. He shouted turn pale. Me to say the truth. He was to do together. What is because your souvenir? Needless to say from my mouth. You a little closer to the Hanagori. I say if you look and examine the human inside. Well then you are. There is whether that it is not Shizuko and Shigeru? Taniyama while the inattentive driving was asked in a hollow voice. Yeah, it is not a Shizuko-san and Shigeru boy. Akechi stabbed once and for all stop. No, I'm unexpected go to the translation to trust that there was such a stupid mind. Taniyama, miserably, was needed wine. Look at the Pearl River. Pearl River have a peak at the inside of the ice. Will you look at it? I immediately understood. Taniyama, while smiling sweat roasted on the forehead, with desperate energy, turned around the Hyoin icicles. And it was nailed a bloodshot eye on the nudity of the mother and child in the ice. Wah ha 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 ha. Whether the detectives. Kun is also seen in the one. Dream mind is different. This is not in Shigeru Shizuko. I called whose. Do not anyone. D. Not anyone? Because it is not human. D. E. Human. It is wax. Because you are a place that has made a mask with no lips. Or something that Roseiku no matter how lifelike, is not supposed to know better. What I was guessed in advance of your plans so, while made the two of wax. During your absence, it had been the real thing with the replacement. Strange Kofyu of that time. Kobayashi-kun of my subordinates. In order to entice out of you it blew in. Quote, two people became ice-packed and said to view. Is in the human corpse. Was beautiful the color and luster of two skin. If you look closely on it. Shizuko also Shigeru boy also. In the face came also found that Noiko appeared expression of anguish. Taniyama also Sunikawa inspector also remain. Such as up. Too much of Hanarabaza of Akechi. Fiddling mouth did not Fusagara. If you think still suspicious. You sure you want to come also good. Fumio's already entered which was raised Hikiyawase the real Shizuko-san and Shigeru boy. When Akechi is called out to the outside of the door, as has been long awaited, it is love. It came into the three persons. At the same time in the gruesome room, it became bright and packaged. The came as, to top the Fumio's assistant of Akechi. I thought just to have got killed. And Hadakiyanagi Shizuko, was Shigeru boy. Escape. Forms of anger and astonishment of Saburo Taniyama at that time, was Muzan also see. No wonder. Albeit also the devil. Such as a vampire. The rabbit is also the corner also avenge his brother Tamim, on which was superimposed a hard time struggling. Finally fully believed I have reached the final object. It's as we get when I was showing off a clever murder means. And if should you accidentally killed Shizuko of question enemy, it appeared in front of his eyes alive. Despite an ice-making room was cold people as in the fridge. Sweat of balls ran down his pale temples and slippery, bloodshot eyes, while staring at the face of Shizuko, stuck in like a glass ball. Dry lips was allowed sipped and trembling. But when you anything or I.O. did not appear even voice. Looking at the Shizuko came high, now defunct for the Jiro Taniyama. Sinful specifications shamed the internal heck, and bowed to frowning. Seemed to taste you want to go even disappear. Akechi-san, you were unnoticed, I went to this magic. You're a really horrible person. Sunikawa said, did not have not issued a voice of amazement. Wax of Shizuko-san and Shigeru-kun in my apartment one day. You also subjected to your ice. What is closed on this ice as a doll at that time? Akechi has been described. I realized that the culprit is the Taniyama of Mitani. Knowing that he was allowed to flee to put in the coffin of the Shizuko-san. Asked to Fumio-san and Kobayashi-kun. Taniyama from the crematorium. By two of effort we were able to locate the headquarters of, and that the headquarters is the ice-making factory. And it can be seen that Shizuko's has been imprisoned in there. I immediately was cancelly a terrible prospectus of Taniyama. Iwakashi, Insu reckoned to the factory from the crematorium. It embarked on immediately like the ice-making work. Would not have afford to rescue hardly Shizuko's us. With the help of the police force that surrounding the factory, knew well, however, while his Shizuko is alive. Without leaving the side dat 1 second, I had to watch in hand a pistol. Immediately Shizuko's if you look at the dangers from being killed out. I is not know to rashly police. They were afraid to lead to a result which is not irreversible. However, fortunately, when confined in Shizuko's to the factory, he is just a cat to play with mouse. Keep taking advantage of the victim for a few days. Fully torture how I saw. I no matter how hurry, or was made to that wax doll. You also as you know, though, even from the dead in the ice box. Just then it began to steal Shizuko's is dangerous. The culprit is, once you know it, do not you know or out to any outrage. As can be seen even now in the state. It because this guy's a half mad. If only to flee Midashimo. Does not mean also that no more horrible revenge. I use as the substitute of the doll. Hidamashida Mashi had taken the means to put the network is because he was afraid of it extreme. Knowing and finally the ice-making operation began. Lured out of the Kobayashi-kun is the culprit by the arrangements that had been determined in advance. While you are stopped only a long argument can. Inanai and Fumio. Quickly Shizuko's and wax we went a replacement dolls the day before, because I had carried properly to the factory of the shed. In replacement, it did not take much time. Rescued was Shizuko-san and Shigeru-kun. I've been harboring to my apartment. If the criminal did not notice any. Among the zinc box, unexpected tired of distinguished in the place. Except a little wax doll. Because I was not entered properly. Quote, while the Akechi is such a description, Taniyama was also recovered from the dazed early. Upon recovery, rage became immediately out the enemy. Got him to madness. He is between Tosa. It came up with horrible last resort. Taniyama ran to the corner of the room, from the bottom of the small desk drawer, to prepare for an emergency. Take out a small pistol that had been put round. Put your finger on the trigger. Previous everyone I came back. Sunikawa police inspector also did not have time to prevent this prompt block action. When you raise most of the hand, LL release Bukaki. That I do not think anything something life of the people. You should know maybe you guys. There was no outside to increase the everyone hand. Wahahahaha, Akechi-kun, also named Detective indeed, it's what did the ridiculous blunders. Taniyama, while moving the snout of the guard without pistol to the left and right, was ridiculed and Kokimio up. Look at the live appearance of Shizuko. This left me is, whether they expect you to give me the nomi no Shen. I is not had lost after all. Life of Shizuko, it is something of me. Easily shoot to death of a pistol. But unexpected trivial little thing. In this case cannot be helped. Forgive me that it would anyone in and interfere, alleges Sanuzo. And one person aiming. The gang is aimed at each other, not keep an eye from the other party. Was happy in the scorching in the room. As a result, whether intentional or accidental, Taniyama was supposed to stand by the only door as the entrance to the back. Shizuko as hugged Shigeru boy, while trembling, had to hide himself in the people of the shadow. Detective-san, it is disturbing. Doimi, or, you can become a scapegoat of Shizuko. I guess estimates to receive this pistol. In both eyes, which were bloodshot of Taniyama, was burning flame of hatred, was enigmatic mad. To me doing a scapegoat fine. One Zudon, I hear alright, or I guess aimed at this area. Akechi is also reckless. 10 million. Looms in front of the opponent's pistol. My forehead, the throat, the chest, showed pointed sequentially. Fumio and Kobayashi boy's complexion has changed a quick. The move for a minute or 2 minutes of the finger of the Taniyama book. Life of the Akechi is because no way Tamare serves as Wasunikawa inspector. In Tosa Wits, was suddenly bull rushed the Akechi out of the ballistic. At the same time, the pistol of Taniyama rang into place. He won by a strange face. In quick succession and value. Minus the trigger. Ha 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 ha. While staggering Isuki Tobasa the Akechi, was this smile. It does not seem outround. The pistol. Taniyama, immediately aware of it, threw the pistol on the floor. Chikasho, Satewa difference, yet he had been drawn to the round of the pistol. In this kind of thing as your guesses. I because it is very cautious. Akechi answered with a smile. Taniyama, too much of despair, for some time, had stood stunned. Suddenly, when the notice to his current position up, floated the shadow of laughter around the mouth. He is because he stood with the back to the time perfect in the door. Hun, by the way, I wonder if sitting is good grass of you. But, in the person of me, he was still remains a last resort. I in this kind of condition. Quote. While good, it was already the figure of Taniyama disappear out of the door. Sound multiplying the tick and key. Wahahahaha. Look Sama, Sunikawa inspector, nor Akechi-kun, in just a rashly mess around. I ended up with that flu. You guys made a lump. It odabutsu like in that room. From the outside of the door, it came sound a devil of curse, such as chilling. And Akechi, and Mr. Sunikawa, and Fumio, 5 of Shizuko mother and child, had fairly been confined to the ice compartment. Taniyama, I wonder that you try to do together they. 5 of those trapped in the ice-making chamber was postponed involuntarily face. What I wonder becomes, or something mither than it took into the trap of the criminal. Both 5 people, that would be deprived of this state life. Horrible machine tackle. Somewhere in the air would not have been available. Dim electric lamp. Strange pond, which praised the black water. Complex commodage to make of the machine. A huge hanagori of wax. Such as cold air, such as biting that pervade the room. Scared people. Ha 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 ha. Sunikawa inspector began to laugh. Tonkyo echoed in the voice's high ceilings. It was oddly sounded. Idiot. But that guy would estimate that escape keep in confinement us. On the outside of the plant. Even the table. To be back. And with a strict watch. Guys. By now is caught in someone of another criminal. It is the hour and minute you are. Quote. I also. But I think so. but Akechi in what seems a little uneasy tone. Rabbit also, the corner is I like to be out of this room. The other Oida time has passed since Gogai is out. Please leave it to me. One position of such a door. Sunikawa said it was carried out hit the high-spirited good door. Doshin. The room was shaking like an earthquake. Then in his third body blow, also brittle and plate of the door, torn and marimari. When I think are torn, along with the wind blowing from the hole, people felt a strange odor, burning smell of things. Oyakai, perhaps? Akechi mutters involuntarily. The door is opened. 5 of those taken in a lump rushed to the next machine room. Son of a bitch, also wanted to go over the key here. Sunikawa inspector cried and ran to the door of the exit of the machine room. Once again, it is body blow. Make a horrible sound, and I think are 2-3 times the room was shaking. Doors away from Kai Butterfly. It had fallen out of the corridor. Fallen at the same time. Ah, it is still likely. Yellow smoke. Came the invasion to Mokomoku and the indoor. Fire. Taniyama's had set fire to the factory. Sharp woman screams ensued. Then, a child's voice that cry and walk. It's Shigeru boy. Akechi and the Sunikawa mister began to dance to the narrow hallway. See if, in the corridor beyond separated by a swirling dakikomori and trickles, the red-black flame is inkin. But there is no escape route to the outside. I just as possible against this corridor. Early, I run through here. Shouting Sunikawa mister, I stood top. Take a hand Fumio of Shizuko. In crying Shigeru ordered that the lift up was Kogoro Akechi boy. Rushed toward the flame. Oh, it was dangerous. In the freezer. Just when I was a little hesitation. There is no difference and could not be safely escaped. Taniyama. It was estimates that of course kills burn them. People should be grateful to the shoulder of the power of Sunikawa inspector. Door if you do not tear and nani early. Because must have been met to the more severe eye. Everyone is rushed to Y feverishly. Fortunately, there is nothing that anyone was injured. Looking back from the window of the factory of the window, yellow smoke is blown. What is it? That smoke is what? 2 criminal that had served as lookout is running up and called to everyone. It's arson. Culprit was what? Taniyama, Matani, either caught him. Sunikawa Mr. Izikasikiki, returned Ri Naoming. No, everyone does not come out. Is not that the back door? Criminal answer. Well, you guys do not move here. I'm staring. Then, when it will be what kind of guy? If came out that the human form. But coming draw without say whether. Sunikawa said throw away good, ran to the back door alone. However, criminal of the back door evens the same answer. No one who ran away from the factory. It's strange. Fire was already traveling around the entire plant. In this flame. Or not why we are not hiding. Meanwhile, confusion of Kajiba began. Or near or far. Monosugoki ensemble of alarm bells. As early as rushed fire engine sirens. Along with the fire of Hisage Dank. Gunry come crowd. Growl of the engine. Fly different fire hand. Sparks of rain. Fleeing crowd. Cry. Rant. Or longer. It was not in the arrest, far from. But, even in that, Sunikawa Mr. beginning criminal us the eyes of cormorants and Hawkeye. Is to escape the criminal Rishiki person Sanuka. Had watched hard. Finally to put out the fire. Even can be found suspicious person there was no. Perhaps he unexpected perhaps committed suicide. While looking at Mr. Vane Kajiba Sunikawa, he murmured. I also, is a place that was thinking about it. One criminal of men stood on the side was hitting melon. When the escape was the guy is that there was no outside to think really. To Niyama it was considered that the unexpected is another escape. If anyway place to climb to the gallows. As the beginning of the Shizuko of the enemy. The companion of the detectives and police inspector that overlaps resentment. Did not decide to try to gracefully suicide. To do this keep been confined in a room the ones of 5 people. He need only set fire to the factory. Is that guy of Kangatsuki phase thing. The next morning, a result of Burns' search, it was found that inferred of Sunikawa Mr. Hits. Laborer who is first of all, I was surprised a large and small two of the carcasses. Ya corpses Sue. The first man that it found is had the fly make a tonkyo cry. However, it was not a real corpse. Examples I waxed all of Hanagori up to the ice was thicker. There is no time to wax as possible melts in form while collapsed. Had kept the vestiges of nude doll. Also, it has been found not to be a corpse. Laborer who in my life have I seen such a creepy thing is. Had become badly neurological. Hey, now is real it is. Man of your bone. Soon I cried one of the laborer. Ya is real as real. It was found that not a mistake what this time. The bottom of the timber, which was burned to ashes, had filled the human bones were broken to pieces. There is also within the building, because intense was part of the most fire. The meat also internal organs as well as had melted. There was no wonder. Constable was rushed. After all, the criminal he's burnt to death in here. He was urgent message this thing to the Metropolitan Police Department. After a while, Sunikawa inspector came doing was accompanied by Kogoro Akechi. It's as I thought of me. The fellow I was finally committed suicide. And before the pieces of skeletal, inspector went with great emotion. Yes, I might be dead, however, Akechi remains off the words with a difficult face. Had crowded accumulation. He also, and this Shirahone is not the one of Taniyama, because there was no self-confidence to the extent as possible good. Tenacity. The incident was settled. Devils such as vampire obsession. Saburo Taniyama died. It steeped his terrible responsibility for. In the end, the Hatake Inagi Shizuko was even about to be killed baked. Fled chrysanthemum flame. Went back to the original safely peaceful life. Hail. A hail. Everyone did not to doubt it. However, only one person. There is a person who does not believe in the settled cases. Akechi is Kogoro. He has tenacity, such as that snake, and had banished the remain. Was not considered absolutely. Fire is not a to kill baked Shizuko. Just did not seem only to have been Katanard of the devil. It Katanard of. Its skeletal for show it even more plausible. The skeletal became tattered and burnt, because there is no mark. Bring the skeleton of physiological specimen chamber. It is previously rolled, because become sufficiently scapegoat. Person who is suspicious of it. It was Kogoro Akechi. Only one person was the first of misfortune. Moreover, the Akechi is, since that fire commotion, sometime in the bruise is because it was a further misfortune that had attached to the dot in the floor. Or it was a coincidence, or a mysterious Naru whether there was a heaven of providence. Illness of Akechi is surprising in this story. By the addition also thought like, gave a very reasonable conclusion. It is, so-called, hail, but he was not in. One day Sunikawa inspector has visited his Kogoro Akechi in the hospital in S Hospital of Hongo. The other, it is a half moon from there. However, there is nothing of pen things. After all, Taniyama, is it true that he burnt to death in a kajiva? And not, there cannot be between so long. Are silent. Inspector also, like many people, believed the Taniyama burned to death theory. That bone is of Taniyama. Does not have a confirmation of what the like. The detective wrote is not allowed the idea that probably will be so. Not be overlooked any is fine, do not doubt it does. It is because it can cause a very serious consequences. Quote, Akechi remained or supine in bed, while frown on pain of shoulder, was eagerly said. I like you are wary. Even in the field Yanagia now. Two people of the criminal will not enter garbled the student. But, what of hen is also no. Shizuko's becomes terribly cheerful and the outer go. Quote, Inspector went to the bitterness up. Cheerfully. Yes, it is troubled person. Shizuko. who must be penitents and learn by experience to theirs. In the half-moon stand how Kanu and cook their young man friend. Is that as theirs every day? Taniyama also Jiro is that you die in agony. Might not unreasonable, original that provoked the Anna incident. After all is that person. Also to that person I have a bad weakness. Quote, only of crime receive the revenge of the Taniyama for those who Shizuko might there was. Taniyama blame only. Even though he was a murderer of ruthless Muaku for example. It may be a bit cruel. Sunikawa Mr. Norikechi, dodging look at the eyes of it's getting help had crowded accumulation. Fumio who had been along every nursing also across the mouth. But was silent. Speaking of which, you may recall, a couple of days before, when I passed in front of the Tigeki, the look-alike of the person and Shizuko's, down the car. From the entrance of that front I was saw Irasharo in. It is not of her person, young and those of man, side by side shoulder or else familiarly face. Immediately after that there was the Anna horrible incident, without stiffness as Shizuko. The fact is that began licentious imitate, was already felt like a sign of something. Feeling this was blurred that it is not going to need to safely has had anyone of the chest. Somehow I think is scary. Fumio-san, suddenly, was the fear in the mouth. What's scary, is the life of Shizuko's. Or is the idea that Taniyama is still alive somewhere. Beta Vakechi is one to ask even in occupied person. Is both. And Mr. Shizuko is it like that. Even more Taniyama is dead is to appear to be a lie. The two things. I feel like there is a connection of the terrible fate of Mr. Fumio is thinking thought, was the person who called, such as a mystery. Sunikawa's. I feel that way, Akechi went in a low serious voice. This is not a theory. Sense more things. I whispered to the heart directly. That you have the so-called sixth sense of you might die. Quote, Sunikawa said, became a strange feeling. Here are two people of the occupied people. And it has a dismal prophecy. And has continued talking for a while. Nurse came to inform the phone to Sunikawa Mr. But from the Metropolitan Police Department. And hear it? Inspector quickly back to a professional attitude. But went out to Adafuku and telephone room. Had his complexion came shortly retrace. Mr. Akechi, your prophecy was hit. What's that? Mr. Shizuko is I killed. One moment, there was a strange silence. Three people are silent, commensurate with the eyes of each other. Detailed it does not know. Absolutely no clue of the culprit. It was news that's a very strange murder. Inspector went well get ready. I will see to go to Rabbit also Sumiate Yanagia. Let's give us the detailed circumstances on it. Please call me. I am sorry also that not go to the site. But please let me know the pros and cons pattern because you walk in individual phone room. Position. Akechi is in the manner climate heard from the sick bed, he eagerly asked. Sunikawa Mr. Skip the taxi. Looking to go to the field Yanagia. Two of criminal that was disguised as a student. Was greeted at the entrance by changing the complexion. People of the attorney's office also had already Raichaku. Murder scene was a Western-style drawing room of deep example of familiar to readers. Shizuko in front of the bottom of the couch. Had been sacrificed died to open. Fatal wound in the scratches that reached deep into the left lung from behind. Kyoki was otherwise feature no dagger. I do not know at all. Why happened is such a thing, there is like a dream like. In the drawing room, so as to hug the Shigeru boy who wrote a beso, your wave of nurse stood still. There was just cage to propose that it is haunted. Nanti it is this kind of real murderer. Sunikawa said, the strange words of your wave did not have us not Kakido game. Haunted that, something I guess there was also such a thing. Yes, his wife is. It became it to look. There is that of the preceding 4-5 days. Wife is. To say that I do not might dream Baba Aya. I may leave talk to me. In the middle of the night. Strange human beings. such as shadows, stood frowning in the bedside of the wife of the bed. You will find so he had patiently looked into the sleeping face of his wife. Quote, "Hun, I was saying in that person had any food, eh?" The inspector felt an interest in your wave ghost story. It is you. Kimono is a somewhat dark things, but did not know clearly. Face. And certainly there was no difference in the guy of that Mitani. There is you say the? In, madam, it was Ignasu. Even in any way this just a crazy about. While wearing a futon from my head. My name is was Surashi not trembling. Then, after a while, and see except from the fear people futon. At that time, and the other ghosts, and vanished to somewhere. Nothing there so I could not see. So, I thought might have been a dream. And I do not say to anyone such a thing. Please open your hitting only to me. Quote, you, to protect the good wearing, I did not speak to anyone. Inspector says, including the tone of a little blame. Yeah, and would surely such a thing. Because the thing which is not dream seems. Because of the care of his wife. I was wondering would had Nasu see such a thing. Contact wave also had McCain the untidy life of Shizuko. But, it is also there then was found become with this morning. Was Nasu visit of the wife is. I was not a dream altogether bad. Law then after all to Niyamas I guess because there is also evidence that crept live here. Made of flowers. This says in along with me. From during this time, during the night, Toka's ham that had been put in a cupboard in the kitchen. There is because Toka eggs. The various things are gone wheel. Wakashian. Someone. Whether I am quite sure that I will not then had crept even under the edge. You wave raising voice. It looks time since he was. After all 45 days ago, my name just wife that said they know when Nasu see the ghost no. The same crime scene. The judiciary chief of the jurisdiction police. But such as windows and doors and furniture from the foremost had been eagerly examined traveling around. He seemed put overheard the story of your wave wallet. At that time, two people across the mouth came to the side. But, whether even under the edge, whether in the ceiling, from to this room there, why was entered, also is why the fact that either went out on the problem. It is Baba Ayasan. You do not have him a witness. Yeah, it is not there a strange in specification I also wonder. Contact wave is frown eyebrows. Agree. Judiciary chief has been described turned around to Mr. Sunikawa. This anti-Ayasan. I was talking with a victim. The chance to have come to a moment between the corridor with the children. Crime has occurred, and heard the screams, and looked to open the door. Damage who is the culprit have fallen this street is because shadow also form also did not. It was so. Mr. Baba Aya. Yes. There the street of the Shigeru-chan had to play in the corridor. There is need little or 5 minutes. Meanwhile, I am. Because you do not leave even once past the door. Where are the bad guys or? More sorry. We have not found must have been entered from another place. Quote, but, oddly enough, this said that the entrance to the outside. I do not at all to the judiciary chief is else taking pull window. Iron bars will yes to fit. Ceiling is yes by hardening the paint in lacquer regret. Also there is no abnormality in the floorboards. And say, in this room, imagine that as you can see. Because I do not have anything closet also cupboard. Was hiding in something of a shadow is not at all impossible. Quote, Sunikawa said, also heard this explanation. Did not become willing to sudden trust even in the second floor of the den before the same building. It occurs the same murder. Because criminal and out there are examples that look totally impossible. So, Mr. Sunikawa's, their own floor yes around, by turning rubbing the wall, long time, has undergone an in-depth investigation be at an end. Also floor to wall the ceiling, was not at all like a hidden door. Barred windows also, Shizuko to new is attached. The rugged be in a dilemma as a result. There was no abnormality, when, leaving the entrance of the door but only one. contact wave was interrogated repeated, but she did not hear Ogasa the previous remarks as Danko. The door. Since I left the room. Until that it happens. Constantly I had in my eyes ahead. How much be senile. That the passage of the people there. Should there is no. It stretched referred to as. Then, the culprit is air. Or was a guy with no fluffy in form. Shizuko is what killed himself. Must be either. However, thing which is not believed even twofold. Wound of Shizuko. In just his own. It was in place. Such as not attached. Sunikawa Mr. gave me at a loss. Then I remembered that it has been asked Akechi in the hospital a while ago. Yes, Rapid anyway, tries to call the Akechi-kun. Fortunately, there was a desk phone in the room. Call the hospital, and wait for a while. It came out weak voice of Akechi. He himself with a fever. He was conveyed to the telephone room of the hospital. The inspector told procedure well of the murder scene pattern. The fact the culprit was the intrusion impossible. Akechi is over the phone, but was a state that he's pondering for a while. Eventually, came sounded a little booming voice. Mr. Shizuko is. Furniture of the room was also replaced with a new one. Then, the furniture store to have come at. Would be time. Listen to someone. The inspector answered from Astir Wave. Yes, it was completely replaced. Furniture store seems before the 5 days of came carrying it. However, it is something. It's 5 days before you of the Taniyama appeared. Also is lost food in the kitchen. I just from that time. Oh, come to think of it, yes. Sunikawa said. While truth is unexpected, no. Answer surprised what meaning to match the hair of time date. Mr. Shizuko is. I had fallen in front of the couch. So, when Etienne exits the room, I was in. Where is the victim? Not had hung on the couch. Yes, that's right. Then if you do not have his blood also flows on top of the couch. We flow. The amount of the variable formed. So, Akechi also had crowded accumulation Patari. Sunikawa said while a phone call. Reasoning of Akechi is, I felt going to be concentrated on a certain point, but what it is, you cannot grasp yet clear. Hello, let's cut the other phone. Even after forever, Inspector since Akechi's silence was reminded. No, please wait a minute. It is somehow understand likely. To be continued. Thank you for your viewing. If you like, please subscribe to the channel. I am very encouraged.